Hello, aspiring podcasters. Welcome to Tools of the Podcast Trade podcast. In today's video, I interviewed real estate superstar Jas Takhar. On this video, he talks about his life as an entrepreneur, how he started, but he also gave some very concrete tips on how to turn your prospects, how to turn your listeners into raving fans. If this video helps you, please leave me a comment below. Also, please subscribe and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you'll know when I upload a new video. Thank you. My guest today is Jas Takhar. Thank you for coming and talking to us today, Jas.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really excited to bring as much value as I possibly can to all your viewers and listeners. And hopefully I drop a gem or two that they can actually take and execute on.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Before we get into what you do, could you tell us who is Jas?
Who is Jas? Well, I'm a good-looking Indian guy. Your listeners are not going to be able to see that, but I know you gave me a head nod, Jennifer, so that's always good for my ego. I'm a regular guy that breathes the same air as everyone else, puts my pants on one leg at a time, but I'm very, very resilient in terms of what I want to accomplish, and what I want to accomplish is to try to see where I can take this God-given skill and talent, which is not a lot of things that I was given, but I was given one or two things, and now I want to see where I can take this. And some might call it the gift of gab, some might call it salesmanship. For me, though, it was in my blood since that age of like 6, 7, when I realized that I had a little bit more confidence, I guess, than the other 6 and 7 year olds, where I wasn't afraid to knock on doors and sell Christmas ornaments or go and help with the book fair. That then translated to, when I was 12 years old, into selling newspapers, and then actually got paid for something that I liked. It was game over for me. Like, I thought, all kidding aside, and maybe not kidding aside, I thought I was going to be selling newspapers for the rest of my life, because I got to do something that I got paid for that I actually enjoyed. And then I just used that to the next job, and which was selling shoes, and then working for the bank. And then I kind of stepped it up, and definitely out of my comfort zone, where I went into car sales, and that was the first time that I got paid on commission based. And again, that was like, boom, light bulb on for me, which was, there's an industry, which is sales, where there's no ceiling. Like, this is an industry where you get to write your own check. You work hard and you do it the right way, and you treat people with respect, and you think long term. The sky's the limit. And I'm trying not to use a cliche, but it truly is. Like, you can take this as far as you want. And then 17 years ago, I made the jump into, which I think is really the biggest ticket item that the average person is going to make, which is a home or a condo, a piece of real estate. I've been doing that for 17 years, and my team right now in Canada has been in the top 3 in terms of how many transactions, i.e. how many families we get to help through buying, selling, and investing. For the last decade, we've always ranked in number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the country.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I see that you are, you're a star in the real estate field, and I could see where the gift of the gab, so to speak, came in handy,
So
right?
hang on. Are you telling me I like the sound of my own voice or something, Jennifer? Where's this coming from? But yeah, I mean, I definitely love meeting new people, getting to understand like kind of what makes them tick. Like, we all have our own stories, and it's really, really cool. I don't think I'm better than anyone, and I don't think I'm worse off than a lot of people, right? And so it's just cool to see, like, and find out people's backstories. I find that so entertaining, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Like, just to get to know people, right? It's kind of cool. And as I mentioned, like, what makes them tick, what makes them push themselves. Because I've gotten into a place now at the age of 40 where I'm very comfortable in my own skin, and I like to see people that are around me kind of have that same feeling. And then, most importantly, as I said at the start of the episode, is actually execute on it. Like, it's nice. I got, I don't know, about 30 books behind me here that are some of my favorites, but I probably spent 15 years on personal development stuff, listening to CDs, going to seminars, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on finding out, and really that's been kind of my personal development and my education is the word I was looking for. But
Mhm.
now it's nice to see others kind of take action on that stuff.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, it does build connection when we, get out there and start talking to people and getting to know them. So tell me, what caused the shift from real estate? Now, I understand you're still in the business, but what caused the shift in mindset or thinking towards digital mindset then?
Well, 4 years ago, almost actually 5 years, my partner, who was my mentor, my business partner, who was my mentor, an older brother to me, I really learned a lot from a business perspective and like real estate investing and just all things kind of real estate. He passed away very tragically, and we
Mm,
came from doing real estate now and having our team for 17 years, almost 18. We did a lot of our stuff through live events. And we did a lot of like email marketing, but like phone calls. As I mentioned, live events, majority of our business came from those type of live events. But when he passed away, he was the one who was on stage, right? He was the one that was kind of the face of the company. And then there was two partners, myself and my current business partner in the real estate company, that there was like a gaping hole, like who was going to
mm,
step up and kind of take the lead in terms of being like controlling the narrative of the messaging. And my current partner now, is definitely more involved in doing videos and all that. But at that point, like I knew was that's something that I was going to take on, but I wasn't ready for the camera. I didn't have the confidence. I never really put in any reps. Like I didn't do any videos. Maybe the odd one I would do. But then I heard the word podcasting, and that changed the course of my life. Like I'm sitting here with you now, Jennifer, because of the fact that I heard that word. And for me, podcasting, as I've had my own now for 4 years, I think I'm like 192 episodes deep. I mean, I owe so much to the world of podcasting because it gave me an outlet in a medium that I was comfortable with, right? Like as I mentioned, 28 years of sales and service, being on the phones a lot. Like nobody's told me that I have the most sexiest voice. I think I sometimes do. But on the flip side, nobody's ever said, "Oh, you have a voice that's irritating." And nobody's ever told me really either one of those two. And so being
mm-hmm.
comfortable on the phone, podcasting was the same thing somewhat. Like obviously you don't have somebody who's talking back with you, but if I had a guest, now I have someone to talk to, and all we're doing is
Yeah.
talking. So then once I heard the word podcasting, I knew that was going to be something that I was going to be interested in because of the fact that I've been on phones my whole life. And so what I
Mm-hmm.
realized is I'm going to have to do this a little differently though, meaning how can I allow others to be a fly on the wall while I'm like learning from interesting people. And I also didn't want to do just real estate. I started probably my first, I'm going to say about 20 episodes was all like very specific to real estate, how to buy, how to sell, how to invest, the importance of a mortgage broker, the importance of a home inspector. I got to be honest, after 20 episodes, I kind of got bored of my own content because I was like, there's more to me and I'm interested in more things than just real estate. Like I like
Yeah.
business. I like business. I like entrepreneurship and sales. And I actually want to, as I mentioned earlier, like I think it's so cool to get to know people and know their backstory. And then maybe even like out of an hour conversation, if I just learn one thing from someone, another person who's listening, if there were a fly on the wall, maybe they can actually take it and make a change in their life, better their business, maybe help with one extra sale for the year. And that's when I started to sit down with a variety of guests from all industries, from all walks of life, and
Yes.
helped sharing their story, but also learning at the same time myself.
Yes, yes, definitely. Podcasting is just exciting, and you're saying what I think all the time is that you're a type A person or type A B maybe because of what you do. You're very good at sales, and so when you have a platform, you want all of you to come out, right?
A
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's what resonates with most people. And this is just get like feedback from my viewers and listeners is the fact that they kind of they kind of know I'm a kid in a candy store, right? Like doing this with you. I mean, today's day alone, from all the recordings, it's just the weirdest things that's been happening. One of our computers went down, and then one of our cameras went down, and then this platform that we were using today was getting glitchy. My headsets went missing in the morning today. But when I get to sit in a chair and do this with someone, it's all kind of forgotten. Like I haven't
Mm-hmm.
thought about it while I've been speaking with you, because for me it's like I'm really in my element, and I think that's what people like. They get to see me in the rawest form.
Yes, yes, they're connecting with you and they want all of you. So that's great. Okay. All right. So let's talk about focusing on the how. How does that stop us from actually doing what we're supposed to be doing so we can be successful at it? We find it a lot in starting something, right?
Yeah, look, I think it's different for everyone, right? Aside from my real estate company, I have a media company, so that helps real estate agents create content. And so I'm lucky enough to sit down with people and find out what it is that has stopped them, up until they met with us, or sometimes even like when they meet with us, and myself and my business partner, that's different in than my real estate company. I mean, her and I, we sit down with people and we ask, like, okay, so they met with us, but now what's stopping you, right? And so we're getting all these a variety of
Mm-hmm.
stories, right? I think it's just fear. I think that's what we've been able to kind of nail it down to. It's fear of a few things. I mean, fear of looking stupid. Nobody wants to look dumb, right? Like that's not, I mean, ever since we were kids, none of us like that stuff, right? And I
Yeah.
think as adults, we call ourselves adults, but the real word, it was just big kids. I think there's the the fear of some of your insecurities coming out, because we all have them. Some are just better at hiding them than others. That's the only
Yes.
difference between all of us as humans. We all have insecurities, and anybody who says they don't, I'm actually telling you to stay away from them from a 6 foot pole, because they're lying and they're not telling the truth, right? And so
Yeah.
those are like the two main things that I think stops people. Essentially, it's always just fear. And we hide it with other words, right? Like I think we use words like I'm anxious, I'm stressful, I feel uneasy about
Mm-hmm.
something. At the end of the day, it all boils down to just fear, and what that fear is different for different people.
Yes, I like that question because it's very prevalent in podcasting. We fuff about with mics and host and who do I then how, when really we're just afraid to start, right?
That's
Because
it.
yeah.
That's it, right? Like you might be afraid to, oh my God, I'm gonna start this, and then people are gonna know that I have a stutter, or I have a lisp, or I have a raspy voice,
Mm-hmm.
or or I'm gonna use some words out of context, or oh my God, I might say something that's wrong, and then I'm not gonna be able to go back and correct myself because I have this perfect image on my other social media platforms, or when I go to a cocktail party, everyone thinks I'm perfect. And so when I start to speak in a podcast, if I say an awe, which we all do in person at that cocktail party, but for some reason when we do a podcast, especially on video, and my hair is out of place, or the bald spot in the back of my head shows on videos, or my makeup wasn't put on, all these things people are actually gonna see. And so I don't want people to see that, right? And so you know what, I'm not gonna start, because podcasting, it doesn't work for everybody. That's like the front
Yeah.
facing excuse. Oh my God, everyone has a podcast. Like, why would you even want to start one, Jennifer? This is so silly. Everyone and their mother has a podcast nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which they just make up, like, bullshit, really. Like, I hope I
Yeah.
can say that.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's easier for them not to start than actually deal with those insecurities. And I say this in the last 200 podcasts that I've been a guest on, where like my job really with being on other people's podcasts is I'm trying to touch one person. Like, out of the hundreds of thousands of
Mm-hmm.
people that are going to be listening to your podcast, I just really want to affect one person. And so to that person, I'm going to say that dealing with your insecurities head on is by far the toughest thing to do, but it will give you one of the highest returns on your life, period.
Mm-hmm. Valuable. Thank you. So, what is Jazz grateful for today?
Having an opportunity to speak to you, like, and having an opportunity to maybe touch and resonate with somebody. Like, I mean, right away, that, like, I could go very deep because I have that stuff too to be grateful for. But I can tell you, like, I've had one of my, let me use the word, like, weirdest days in business in a long time. Not ever. I've had some really bad days and some off days. Today's been a very off day, but I'm so grateful that I'm still able to bring the energy to your podcast. I'm grateful. I was speaking to one of my business partners today, and I'm grateful that that business partner is at a place right now where she can actually deal with being slapped around in the like, with business. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to walk on eggshells to try to protect her. She's like, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm so grateful for that because I have somebody to also now share that with in business. I have another business partner who's, him and I together have had a lot of like we've been punched in the face so many times. With my business partner in my media company, we're starting to get punched in the face, and so it's nice to know that I'm not the only one who's taken the punch, and not that she hasn't taken punches with me before, but I'm grateful for the fact that she looked over me today and said, let's go. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful. I can pull on so much, Jennifer. Like, I mean, there's just so much that I keep in my pockets from a grateful perspective because I know I'm going to get beat up throughout the day.
Yeah.
Because not everything, I, somebody told me this long time ago. It's so true. If you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans.
Yep, for
You
sure.
like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yep.
so true. Like, man, do I ever wake up so ambitious with, like, every day I wake up the same way and ask myself, and when my team comes around, and if there's new people around us, they're like, so Jazz, what are we going to do today? I'm like, the same thing we tried to do yesterday, try to take over the world. And for 40
Pink.
years, I failed. You know what I mean? But here's the list of things that I want to do today. I probably get to 10% of them because I'm on my way to do something, and in business, that's what happens, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful for the opportunity. I think at the highest level, to answer your question, I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to even bring value to people.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I do remember Pinky and the Brain.
Ah,
You
you
just
got the Animaniacs. Good job. Good job. Good job. Did I ever want to live in that water tower?
All right. Thank you. How can we turn prospects into raving fans?
You know what? That's a great question because I love the word Raving Fans. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Actually, after I read it, I probably should have started Uber, but it tells you that ideas mean nothing, execution is everything. Because I think
Mm.
that book laid out the idea for Uber. But how do you turn prospects into raving fans? I think three ways. Number one is that you start off with the mindset of understanding that you need to treat everyone with respect. I don't care if it's the CEO or the janitor, it's the same thing. Treat
Yes.
everyone with respect. Number two is you need to exceed people's expectations. That's how you, like like literally, that's the magic sauce on turning a prospect to a raving fan. Find out what their expectations are. You ask, hey, yes, what are you expecting out of my service from buying, selling, or investing? And then whatever he tells you, write it down, take all the notes. He's giving you what he expects. Now find ways to exceed it, because to create, raving fans are not born, they're created. And
Mm-hmm.
what you do is you find ways to make that prospect say wow, because the amount of times they say wow in the experience that they have with you or your product, that makes it memorable, and then they'll tell other people about it. If you
Yes.
just met his expectations, it's not good enough, unfortunately, because he didn't have an experience where he said wow. So you want to make them say wow. And then the number three thing is think long term. You need to create raving fans. You might have to like lose money on a transaction for whatever reason. You have to give the money back for the product. You need to, by like trying to exceed their expectations, you might have to spend a lot of money, but you're thinking about the lifetime value of that client. So
Mm-hmm.
if Yas is buying and selling and investing with you, you might lose money, as I mentioned, on his transaction. And for your listeners in the car right now, I'm doing air quotes because like transaction is short term. You want to think about how many people is he going to tell? That's the lifetime value of him.
Yes,
Right? In
yes.
my business, I'm very, 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 very fortunate that real estate it's a high ticket item. So the commission on it is priced higher, right? Like I get
Mm-hmm.
paid more when somebody buys, sells, or invests. But when he introduces 10 people, so when I meet Jas, this prospect, and Jas is my videographer, that's why I say his name. He's in front of me right now. When he buys and sells with me, I'm not thinking about his transaction. I'm thinking about how many people can I get him to introduce me to. Because if he
Yes.
introduced me to 10 people, let's just say for like easy math, it's a $10,000 commission every time someone buys. That's 10 people. That's $100,000. That's the lifetime value is 100,000 now. I'm going to treat them a little differently. So if I spend $150 on lunch or dinner with him and I buy him a $500 gift card, or then he refers me 10 people, I send him to Turks and Caicos, and now I've spent $5,000 on him because he's introduced me to 10 people. Well, I invested, it's not spending, by the way, it's not an expense, it's an investment into your business. If I invested $5,000, but I made $100,000, easy math tells me I'm still up 95 grand.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And I understand a lot of the lingos because I was a real estate agent once.
You get it. You get it. You get it.
By referral.
100%.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
And
all about referrals.
yes. How can we get in touch with you and tell us about your podcast? Do you have any other service? Or just tell us about
Yeah,
you
I
and your
appreciate that. Look, I
profession.
mean, again, I thank you for the opportunity, Jennifer. I mean, just like, I hope I just brought some value. And anybody who's kind of fished around my content, I think they'll get a quick understanding of that's all I'm trying to do is trying to bring value. So look, I mean, the easiest thing to do is just to Google me, and then you can make a decision on how you want to consume me. Some people
Okay.
like my videos, and so you can go to YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. But some people only want to hear my voice. Then go on any podcast platform in the name of the podcast. I wasn't creative that day that I thought of it. It's called Jas Takhar Podcast. Very, very easy to find. But if you want to read, because that's just kind of how you like to consume content, you can go on my website, and I have blogs for days. And so the best thing to do is Google my first name, Jas, Jas, last name Takhar, Takhar, and figure it out. I'm not that hard to find.
Thank you, Jas. I appreciate you. What's your favorite podcast tool, if you have one?
Well, yours is now my favorite podcast because I just like your smile, and
Thank
I'm not
you.
kidding. So thank you. I think if I had to name off a couple of podcasts, I'm a massive fan of the Joe Rogan podcast for sure. I really like Andy Frizilla's podcast. Might be hard for some people to listen to. There's a lot of f bombs and stuff, so be careful. And I love the Patrick Bet David podcast. I think he brings a cool perspective to the world of podcasting. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Gary Vee audio experience. I haven't heard it, I don't know, probably for 5-6 months, but I go into waves with him. I go listen to his podcast for maybe a year nonstop, and then I just kind of get away from it. So those are kind of my top 4 or 5 podcasts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate you coming and talking to us today. Any parting shots?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think one of the biggest obstacles that people face, not only in the digital space. I think this was like, I know this to be true. It was long before the digital space, but I think with the social medias of the world right now, I think what it's easy for people to do is to compare themselves to others. He has more money than me. She looks better than I do. He sounds better than I do. She has more properties than I do. She has a much bigger business. She has more resources. He was given the money by his parents. He has a better style than me. The list goes on and on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this will never stop. There's a reason we have Elon Musk at one point having the most money in business, and then it's Bill Gates, and then it's some dude from Mexico, and then it's some brothers from India, and then it's somebody, and then it's Elon Musk again. It just keeps going. Like, you have to
Yes.
get to a place where you stop comparing yourselves to others. It's poison. It will rot your insides, like,
Mm-hmm.
on a consistent basis. And if you can just stop worrying about what other people have, definitely more than you, because that's the real poison part. I think reminding yourself how much you have more than someone else, I think that's a positive, because then that plays into gratefulness. And so for me, I really want to get the core people around me to a place where they just stop comparing themselves to others, because you're given what you're given. That's it.
Yes.
Like, deal with it. It's the cards that you're dealt with, and any poker player knows that you play the hand that you're dealt with. Not you don't worry about what everybody else at the table has. So if you can do one thing, is it's stop comparing yourself to others, and I think you'll start to realize how much bandwidth, not the www bandwidth internet, I'm talking about bandwidth in your brain.
Yes.
It opens up for you to actually execute on some of the ideas that you have, for you to actually execute on some of the passions that you have, for you to execute on some of the things that make you actually happy. Because I got like a secret for people. Like, when you do stuff that makes you happy, you'll stay up at night a little bit longer. You'll wake up with a spring in your step because you're going to want to
Yes.
get to it. It's not work. It feels like a hobby. So the only way you can do that stuff is if you kill all that poison, which is comparing yourself to others. And the best way to do that is to drown out any of the negativity with positivity. And the way you do that is listen to a podcast like Jennifer's. I'm going to leave you
You,
with that.
yeah, in tears. You're just totally awesome. Thank you very much, Jas Takhar, for coming and talking to us today. I really appreciate you. I
I'm glad
appreciate you.
I'm glad I could bring some value to some people today.
Awesome. Thank you.